Hey, Mr. Henley? Mr. Henley, how do we get this on smart?
Oh, yeah.
This might be
I have
us.
treats too.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you, Michelle, for taking
But,
your back.
cards, hi. Cards from the staff for, not to jump ahead of anyone, but, just so that if you want to open the cookies, and I brought baggies, so you can take them.
But
The thank you cards are, from our conferences. So, thank you so much, the dinner for conferences. And it's such a nice treat every year to not have to worry like running out, especially people that don't live nearby. And I did just want to say, more importantly, I mean, we love the dinner, of course, and all the homemade everything. But it really is just such a nice time for us to connect because there's teachers, 4th and 5th grade, I rarely see. So it's so nice, like when we have that, it's like a time that we're all down there together and we're like, hey, I haven't seen you in forever. So that really is just a nice little, like in the midst of hectic conferences and, you know, getting ready and all the assessments prior to that. So we really, really are appreciative. So just some cookies and thank yous from the staff.
That's sweet. Thank you. You weren't kidding. It's a little like.
Yeah, usually April with baseball and December.
Yeah. Well, I have some questions. Thanks. Okay. Who would write it down? Yeah, it's all right. All right. So we'll get started. Stay on track. Welcome everyone to the December PTO meeting. I think everyone here knows me, but Julie, chair. Caitlin, co-vice chair. Stephanie, disbursing treasurer. Sarah, treasurer, or vice. Yeah. What are you? Vice treasurer. There you go. Receiving treasurer.
I'm just secretary, Jessica. Nice to meet you guys.
Michelle.
And Pat Bender, 2nd grade learning support.
And on Zoom, we have, I don't know.
Jason. Hi, Jason. Thank you for joining us.
Okay, so can we move to approve minutes from November? Do we need form for that?
I don't know.
I don't think we have one. So we'll get it with somebody. Yeah. Okay. All right, so that brings us right to the principal update.
Form is 15. Just a second.
Thank you.
You're on, it's your.
Yeah, I'm gonna start with what I usually do at the end, but I just wanted to thank Pat, Ms. Bender for coming out. Ms.
Hey.
Bender,
Can you stand here?
I can see wherever you'd like, absolutely. I'd like to thank Ms. Bender for coming out today. Are we good? There we go. All right, what did they say? There we go. Mrs. Bender for coming out tonight. Mrs. Bender is one of the most caring and dedicated individuals. It's been a pleasure to work with her for the last 11 years. We have spent countless hours together talking about kids and as a learning support teacher, talking about students and different ways to help individual students on their path in school. So I just appreciate her professionalism, dedication, and someone who gets the big picture of we're here to help the kids and maintains a positive attitude through COVID, through a regular year, through everything. So I'm so thankful that I have Pat Bender on my staff.
Second.
And I'm very thankful to have her here tonight. So as far as my report, I hope everyone saw Dr. Marseille's email. I was very thankful because it saved me from like a last minute e-blast tonight. The weather forecast is a little iffy for the morning. It looks like it's going to get cold overnight. So there's a potential, for issues with transportation at the moment. It looks okay, but please be sure that you talk to your children about, inclement weather and what a 2-hour delay may look like. I don't think we have any more than that, but right now I think we're still on target, but we are watching that for the morning. Big thank you to the PTO and the chairs for the turkey trot. Being here was an absolute pleasure. I really enjoyed it. Seeing everyone come out. I ran into people I hadn't seen in 15 years that I knew from other experiences. It was just a great community day. So thank you for all the hard work that went into it. Yeah, it was great. It was especially rewarding to run alongside, at least for the first couple miles. Some of my students who really hung in there, kept looking back at me. But it was just a great time. Really enjoyed it. So thank you for all the effort and planning, countless hours that goes into the turkey trot. Dr. Martin, my last e-blast, I believe I referenced an earlier communication for our superintendent about the district strategic planning. The superintendent and the assistant superintendent are leading, as I mentioned earlier in previous meetings, strategic planning for the next 10 years, and it's looking at everything. I have 2 teacher leaders that are part of the initial meetings, if you will, Shelby Harper, 4th grade, and Gabby Levinas in kindergarten. So they've been going to the monthly meetings with me. We are looking for feedback from all stakeholders. The staff will be taking a survey, all staff, support staff, teaching staff, the parent community. I sent the link out. It's going to keep coming out, at least in the next couple of e-blasts. The survey is open to the 22nd. It really is important to provide that feedback for this group. Strategic planning looks at everything: curriculum, instruction, communication, the audits that were conducted last year. A lot of that work is being funneled into strategic planning. There will be offerings, which I believe the dates were in the e-blast for community meetings. There are some during the day, some in the evening, some I believe on like Saturday morning. So a lot of work to be done. So please, if you have a moment, please take a minute and take the survey. And again, it will be in the upcoming e-blast. Martin Luther King Day. A lot of information is going to be coming out in the next few days. The cultural proficiency teacher leaders alongside the district have been planning Martin Luther King Day activities. Many districts do this at the building level. I actually used to do this at my own school. Dr. Marseille, coming from Cheltenham, brought everyone together. Come on in. Come on in. It's all right.
We're near the.
Yeah, please. So MLK Day, basically we're going to be doing, instead of individual school projects on Martin Luther King Day, it's going to be a day of service at the middle school. The earlier communication, I know you had a meeting, it was the high school. Just for some new logistics, it's going to be the middle school, but it's going to be a day, and I can walk everyone through it. 8:30 to 9 o'clock on Martin Luther King Day, that Monday. 8:30 to 9 o'clock, everyone gathers from all 5 schools, parents, students, light refreshments, and then let me get this, because some of the information is not even finalized, so I don't want to go too far. But from 9 to 10:30 are going to be a lot of student performances. We will have students from all buildings reciting the speech Martin Luther King. We will have wax museum, which may have students from each of the buildings. SRS does it earlier in the year. We do it a little bit later, but we're trying to get some students from 4th grade last year who may have done it, especially in one of the classes, to come and dress up as a famous person and present to parents. African drum, I believe, is also going to be performing at MLK Day. Speeches, wax museum, African drums. I know I'm forgetting a couple. Well, middle school and high school, I'm actually not sure what their performances are. But there'll be performances, and then from 10:30 to noon, each building will have sponsoring service projects. And that's the information that's going to be forthcoming. The group that NPE is partnering with, which we were going to do separate anyway, but now we're just going to kind of tack on to MLK Day, is organization Community Action Agency of Delaware County, which does a lot of work for economically disadvantaged families in Delaware County. So we will be putting together a list of donations, kind of care packages for families that could use. Some hygiene products. There may also be like cards, like thinking of you cards for various things. Those are the details that we're still working on, but we're partnering with that agency. SRS, and I think Julie may actually know a little bit more, but they have, I forget, it's Nick's.
Is it Nick's house or Nick's place?
Nick's house.
It's in Swampmore. And they provide residents and support and supplies for families and children who are battling cancer. And so they do, they're sort of like care kits is what they call them. And so they as well accept donations, and then a representative from Nick's will come and bring all the building materials. And they take the donations, build the little care kits, and then they have kids write like an encouraging note that they get put in the kit. And yeah, I know they picked that one because they lost a child in their community, a second grader this year to cancer. So it's something that was kind of more impactful for them as well as it being like a community-based place.
Yeah, and I believe Wes has a partnership, and I know not remember the name. Working with
They do gloves.
clothes for Pakistan. It was Pakistan,
Pakistan, yeah.
that's yeah. And that's who one of their teachers, who's done some work previously for it. So the details will be coming out very soon. We're trying to coordinate with our school social worker here, who was the original person that was working with this agency that we're partnering with. So there'll be a lot of information coming out in the next very few days. But we are we'll be reaching out for students, for student performances, parent volunteers, staff volunteers, but it really is the first opportunity on MLK for the district to come together and make it a day of service. So, yes.
So my questions are mostly logistical.
Okay, go for it.
Like, will the district be providing optional transportation for?
I do not know for sure.
And I presume that because the kids don't have school, that there will be no attendance taken. Right?
It's completely optional, yes.
Okay.
And I believe there will be something putting out saying, this is for families, so students, especially elementary.
So
And
that's their
adults,
question.
and adult, I'm not saying one family can't take like 4 kids,
Uh-huh.
but there it's expectation that
That's the adult.
the family or one adult will be bringing, a
Okay.
couple kids, yeah.
Adult supervision required.
Yeah,
Adult
supervision required is what I'm saying.
And I do, unless they changed it, they did the last 30 minutes, there's a big cake.
Yes,
Right,
thank
cake
you.
and
Refreshments, 12 to
refreshments.
12:30.
Yeah,
Yes.
this is all indoors. Yeah.
Yes, at the middle school, yeah.
But spread out.
Far we've come.
Because I do know there's talk about it being spread out, like one thing might be in the big
Yes.
room, and then
Yes.
like that certain things might be in the
And
hallways.
this is
as well.
only for the elementary school.
This is K to 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the reason it moved from the high school is actually for our elementary students. The younger students trying to navigate the high school with the steps, and also, and I remember this from my experience. You may also have families or grandparents that may come and trying to navigate Strathaven steps from the cafeteria to classrooms. Could be a prohibitive factor, so. Yeah, so it has been moved to middle school.
And in terms of numbers too, like something that we did talk about is, like even from the district standpoint, they realize it's a 4-day weekend.
Yep.
A lot of families are gonna take that opportunity to go somewhere. So they realize that it may not have the attendance that it would have
Yeah.
otherwise.
But I think they can sell it. you
Yeah,
know?
and families have an opportunity to bring in these donations
Yeah.
up until, even if they can't
Yeah.
physically be there.
I think the idea of this is that, yes, I mean, ideally, this would have planned a long time ago. Lots been gone into it. But I think that the district is aware that it's gonna be kind of growing pains the first year, but the thought is we need to take a step forward, bringing all 5 schools together. Not just MLK Day, right? But international nights, other nights that are gonna, look at other cultures. So that's kind of the vision moving forward, but I do think they're very aware that the first time out is gonna be a little bit of work in progress.
You can tell them that parents have concerns about the communication in terms of, I know that there's like an issue with like, there not being a communications person anymore at the district level. So like, if they want us to come to this, it's like,
Very aware. Yep.
yeah,
Yeah. I'm hoping I can have something for Friday,
All right.
because I'm very aware.
All
Yep,
right,
yeah, because we have that service project, and if we want to get donations, we
Yeah.
need it out like
Like.
yesterday.
Like
Yeah.
3 weeks. When you start collecting donations, like the begin, like first week back, or?
I'm gonna say what I hope, and because I don't have that information in terms of the specific bags that we're putting together. Ideally, I can get it out on Friday's update and say anything you can get in next week is great. And then those first 2 weeks of January. Yeah. That is my hope. And I think we have a good chance of getting something in there saying, this is coming. If you would like to send something in now, here's where, it'll be the lobby, we'll do it that kind of way.
And is that just gonna be for the school-wide one, or is that also gonna be whatever we do for the next house too?
It would be our school one.
Okay,
Yeah, like I want to get moving on that one as quickly as
Okay.
possible, because the next one I just may not have by Friday.
gotcha.
Yeah, and I know that the meeting I was in was preliminary, but I know their hopes for that sort of thing was right after the new year. So like you
Okay.
said, our in-home one.
Yeah, and the PTOs are also coordinating, so, and I haven't had a chance, obviously, to really,
Yeah.
to engage the executive board here, but I plan to do so as soon as I get that, so. We'll set something up once I get the information. December 23rd is a half day, for students. And December 16th is picture retake day. I did not send out, a cancellation of last week because we were crossing our fingers that the pictures were actually going to come in that day before. Barksdale reached out to us the week that we thought we were going to get them. Said they were experiencing delays, but said, we believe you're going to have them. So I apologize for not getting one out saying picture retake day. I did not know, it's my understanding that parents received a digital preview.
I don't even know.
Okay, I did receive an email saying someone had somehow seen it. I don't know how. I thought, I've never heard of that. Okay.
I haven't in years past.
I'll have to respond.
In
But not
years
recent,
past.
not
But not-
recent.
Oh, okay, maybe it was in reference to past that. Okay.
And yeah, there was. Seriously.
Well,
For the past few
look.
years though, it's had it.
Okay,
At one-
Okay.
It was
Maybe I
literally like 1 year
misinterpreted.
ago, wasn't
okay.
it?
Because I heard that and I thought, oh no, everyone's
it
gonna
was like
see
a
it.
group.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just know that, at least being on like PTO board, I was getting a lot of questions of where are the photos? And, some parents were thinking that the communication was lacking, whether that was on the school's end or Barksdale's end. Because then they were getting information from a third party, from someone else who got a lot of information from their school. And saying that Barksdale actually was encountering some issues with their security systems. And, so then they came to me and I'm like, I don't know anything about it, you need to call the school. But I guess, a lot of the conversation I was getting was that some of the, communication was lacking. So I don't know if that's something that we can clear with Barksdale next year, like you need to keep us updated if there's gonna be delays, like you need to let us know at least 2 weeks before, like so that we can communicate to parents, because it's a little concerning when you're like, picture retakes are coming up and I haven't gotten these, and it is like a first world problem, but it's also something that we depend on for
Yeah.
like parents,
For
grandparent
well,
gifts.
Yeah, grandparent gifts and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but it's, I do, like, is there any talk of, because, we are always the last school to get our pictures anyway. And it's like, I know it's just the way things are scheduled and the way it's shipped out, but like, is there any discussion of exploring other vendors for this? In the future, because this is.
not at the moment.
They
I mean,
really
I-
let us
And I'll tell you, my school used Barksdale too. We took our pictures a week before we did here and they had them back. Like, I love that.
They let us down.
It's
this
here.
year. Say last.
It's last year. It's.
Oh, I didn't even get my kids. Like,
Well, there were multiple schools that Barksdale had this issue with. It just, we were the one. Yeah, there was like
It was
180.
So
Always
the
seems to be
communication that I saw from Brandywine School District was that they got an email from Barksdale that there was a security breach and a security data breach on all of their security system. So they were ensuring that the photos were safe, but they had to work out a lot of the kinks in order to access all that information and data. So
Is that-
Was our credit card covered? Like,
I don't,
like,
that's what
like this.
I don't know any of this
So-
information.
Okay, so I did not know that.
Yes.
But in terms of communication, I have to take responsibility for that. mean, that falls much.
But it also was
So-
Barksdale not communicating.
No, I
especially this
understand,
kind of
I understand,
information
I understand,
too.
but I certainly been here long enough to know the importance of the pictures. And even if it's 4 days out, I can do a better job of getting that out, so I just say always, hey, can you drop it in? Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't, in this case, yeah, I take responsibility for that. But I will say, I really did think, like, I was trying to be like, can we
Oh,
get
yeah.
2 more days? Can I just get 2 more days? It'll be helpful. Because I didn't want to send it, because once you put that out,
I totally
So-
understand, like a couple of weeks, like
Yeah.
at Thanksgiving, we're like, where are our pictures we usually have before Thanksgiving? So it was
Yeah.
like that whole thing, and then, like I said, my friend reached out to them and they were like, oh, your picture retakes were rescheduled, check with your school, and they were very rude.
Yeah,
And then she found this out from one of her other friends. She's like, well, this is the email we got from our principal, and it had a whole thing about that.
yeah,
So,
did not know that.
yeah.
Like last year, the
So-
pictures were late.
That's the case, we might be, that's pretty quickly. Yeah.
That is not.
If there, I don't know if this is a district decision of who we choose for pictures, or if that's a school decision.
It came up last year.
Mhm.
It was talked about. Currently, it is still in school by school. That could change, but that would be,
So
that
would be-
conversation is not started. I
Okay.
believe 2 are Barksdale, 1 may still be Life Touch. I could be wrong on that.
But that, so that would end up coming down on as a school decision. then.
Well, if it comes down to a district decision and it saves money across the whole
I think it'll
district.
be a district
system,
decision.
That would be fine, right?
Mhm.
But the issue is that we're small,
Yeah.
this big, I mean, dealing with contracts for an entire school for
Right.
system,
Mhm.
and it's just like.
It'll be pushed.
Yeah.
A little bit, so, but that,
Okay.
I can do a better job of communication with that, so, but that was the rationale. I
Yeah,
really
and
thought,
I
I thought they were
understand that
coming
too,
in,
yeah.
because they said we're having issues, didn't get specific.
Mhm.
And I was really hoping we'd get to, even if it was the day before that, and they could, because they have done that, there was one other year where they came in just under the wire. They said they had mailed it, and picture retake day was like 48 hours later. I want to say that was about 4 years ago. but, I actually think that was my last thing. One thing I did mention when just a couple of parents were here, I am aware of the mulch outside the playground. We're getting a long-term fix. If you're not aware, the mulch has been worn down, that when we have any kind of inclement weather, it's, for lack of a better word, becoming mud out there. So we are getting mulch delivered over the holiday break, over the winter break. At a minimum at the foot of the slides and the high contact areas. So the long-term plan is SRS and NPE. SRS was done last year. When the playgrounds were put in during all these construction projects, they didn't put, I guess there's some kind of base layer for rocks that for like seepage, for drainage. That needs to be done, or it's going to be done. So what that basically does is it keeps the mulch when it's delivered lasts much longer. So there's a long-term plan so that we're not in this every 6 or 7 years, or 8, I guess it was for us. So there will be a long-term fix, but I've been told by the district that there will be mulch coming to the playground, at least by the equipment, by the slides, and especially the swings. So I just want to make sure everyone's aware that we are aware of it, the district's addressing it, and the timeline. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then we'll turn it over for a teacher and staff update. So for those who were not here, before, this is Ms. Pat Bender. And I'll let you know. Tell us about yourself.
I'm second grade learning support teacher at NPE. So we did deliver thank you cards because the PTO provided dinner and desserts, soup and salad and everything during conferences, which the staff greatly appreciates. So we just wanted to share that thank you with everyone. I have a few updates, just grade levels and other areas that wanted to share. Kindergarten, just a few things that each of the grades are doing. In kindergarten, they're talking about hibernation and what winter looks like in our area. They're also discussing what animals hibernate. And this week they're meeting with their 5th grade buddies to make a hibernation craft. Students are also bringing in a stuffed animal to hibernate in their classroom. They're going to put them to sleep in the classroom caves on Wednesday, 12/21, since it's the first day of winter. And then they will sleep until the first day of spring, and then that's when they'll get them out. So pretty cute for the kindergartners. And first grade is having fun with gingerbread and reading different gingerbread stories and comparing different versions. They're doing science experiments and making crafts, all based around gingerbread. Second grade teachers, they started rotating for science. So prior to COVID, second grade, we used to have the kids rotate and they would go to the different classrooms for science lessons. And then when COVID came along and after we came back, we felt like it was better if just the teachers rotated. So we're still continuing to do that. The kids really enjoy it because they get to have another teacher and it's 1 day a week. And each unit is about 5 to 6 weeks. And the kids are exposed to changes. They do matter, health, weather, and insects. And of course, the insects are Mrs. Prosperous. She does happen to have pet roaches in her classroom. Just saying. Just saying.
Oh, yeah.
Keep your little roaches over there.
It's
The kids do love them. It is funny. And they're like, can we see? And because they all like hide up under these clay pots and she'll say, all right, and she'll get them out and you see them all in there. I'm like, okay.
Loved it.
Yeah, it's funny. But it's in all full disclosure, if we do happen to see something running, that's like, one of Mrs. D's roaches are out. Say, no, that's just a hub. That's just a hub. We're feeling outside. So it is kind of funny occasionally. So in 4th grade, high school students visited NPE last week to teach student activities for our code. And if I'm correct, Al, didn't they come to all the grades?
Yes.
Okay. 4th grade just happened to report on it. Their kids loved it and were super engaged and challenged. And they said, what a wonderful way to have the district high school students. Some of them were former NPE students to come back and support learning at the elementary level. So I think it was enjoyed by both the high school kids and the elementary level. And now chess club. So Paul Shara, if I'm saying that correctly, he's one of our tech people and he did the chess club this year. So he would just like to get feedback if anyone had a child that attended chess club. He just kind of wanted to know, did they enjoy it? Is there any changes that they thought, anyone thinks that could make it better? And maybe put the word out and then you can always email him and just let him know because which is good because he's looking to do it again.
Well, maybe we could do like a Google form and then email it out to all the participants. We have that access to those emails, right?
We'll talk about this offline.
Okay. But I do have feedback.
And then my last one, but certainly not least, is the nurse's office. And she just wanted to sincerely thank you for all the clothing that you provide for students who need to come in and get a change of clothing. She said it's just really nice having, like the different sizes, and that way the kids don't feel too embarrassed if they go back and something doesn't kind of fit correctly. So she said it's really good, wonderful to have that. So thank you very, very much.
I think some of us had children who
Oh my
used some of
gosh.
those clothing.
Yes.
I have a certain child who now uses it as his personal love library. That's. I don't think quite right.
I didn't get feedback from 3rd or 5th. I'm assuming they're very, very busy, but I didn't get like anything. I asked for things that maybe they did like special projects or something out of the ordinary to send. So
I heard a lot about the chorus.
the 5th grade course.
A lot of like, can someone explain a little bit, because my son complains about it a lot. Some special, like, I don't understand, like, what is it, what to
I'd
do?
like to be able to speak a little more, but
We always have a great chorus, all the students participate.
But they didn't have it during COVID, right, is that what it is, so they haven't had it for like a couple of years or something?
Trying to remember last year. No, we had a concert last year. Yeah.
yeah,
There was a concert.
maybe.
And a select board, 4th and 5th grade, and all students participating in the great chorus. All 3 schools have it. Typically, we try to do it outside the specials block, but with the schedules that all 3 buildings now have, it's almost impossible to do so. So they try to rotate between like a 2:30 practice. And the other specials, like all 4 specials would go there. Yeah.
If I remember correctly, the kids would groan about it, sometimes especially.
There
the
are some,
boys.
and yes, and there are some students who music, certainly just like others, maybe perhaps are not the best artists or.
But it gives them a little exposure and they have the concert, but am I correct, like the end of the school year, they sing the national anthem at the Blue Rocks, isn't that the 5th grade chorus?
Yes.
They do.
So that's.
That's their thing.
That's correct.
You can talk up about that. Brought that on early on. He was like, we get to go, you know. come on.
In June, yep,
Yeah.
yep. 30.
So if you need incentive.
Yeah.
You're singing and being, like. So,
I would like to first say that Mrs. Urban for the corns. It's corn.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I'm trying to get 3 years, yes.
And you'll sing it for the rest of the night. I do know one of my children, I can't remember which one, came home and told me about the high schoolers being here, and they were very excited about that. So I know that was either 3rd or 5th grade as well, because.
Yeah, there
What
were a
if-
couple of classes that I believe Dave Endell did just because of scheduling. But yeah, there were high schoolers in, I believe, almost every classroom. I think there were 1 or 2 that Mr. Mandel was able to do it.
They tell me nothing, these children.
I don't. It's amazing. Well, they just complain.
Yeah.
But they.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I liked that update. I liked, we had.
Yeah. It's good when you get something from each grade outside of curriculum. I always say some like special project, like something you're doing or your grade is doing that parents might not.
But it also
Otherwise,
gives
they'll-
us ideas too, as a PTO of how we can support them. And maybe not in a way that they're gonna come out and say, hey, I need this.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, well, maybe we could do this for the 2nd grade, by cockroach food. I don't know, like. It's just like, something that we can always think of too, and it's nice to just hear updates.
Yeah.
From all the grades too.
Speaking of great chorus, one of the things that has a certain dramatic child who, remember there was a play, was it the
Yes.
2nd grade or 3rd grade? Is that back this year?
We haven't really talked about the play yet. It is, I have to say, it is very, very time consuming,
I
the
bet.
practice
Yeah.
to, perform it and, it's a lot. It's very involved. So I know they try to make a consensus if everyone, if all 4 teachers want to do it. So they want to, if all 4 want to do it, they do it, and we haven't done it since.
Yeah.
We are in talks with the person that did our talent show. It was Katie Poulos. So I have talked very preliminary with actually our building sub. We sat down a couple times, so we're in preliminary stages, what we're talking about looking at doing the talent show again this spring.
So we were just talking about that.
Yeah.
Well, who might remember who was it for?
Oh, First grade.
Yeah, I wonder if that will come back.
No.
I would probably say that looking at the instructional minutes that were taken weekly, it's not likely that will probably be back. You can blame that principal for that. I will bring that.
I have to say that we can't hold it, my son just brought in his stuffed animal this week and is putting it in hibernation. And I remember we did it with my daughter in 2020. And in 2019, she put it in hibernation. And on the first day of spring, they were not in school. And she was. So I really am hoping that that's not because that was a huge issue. That her stuffed animal is coming out of hibernation and she was not there.
Well, let's hope for no national global pandemic. Once we said, I think we could go.
Before we move on to committees real quick, I just wanted to. At the beginning of the meeting, we introduce ourselves, I think it's kind of repetitive, but we always want to know like who's here and if you have like what grade your children are in or and that way if there's anything that you want to ask or anything relevant that we're talking about as well. So please remind me.
I'm Allison. My daughter Charlotte is in 1st grade in Mrs. Margaret's class.
1st grade, that's right. And welcome.
So I'm Jocelyn Diaz. This is Rosa and my nephew Dylan Diaz, just came from Dominican Republic and he's in kindergarten. So it's our first. I have a high school, I have a senior at Strathaven. So this is 17 years removed.
Oh my
I'm trying to figure out how to say hibernation in Spanish. Because we don't have animals in the Caribbean.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, no, like he's super shocked by how cold everything is.
Yeah.
And it's like his first experience, but he's like praying for snow, praying for a blizzard. Yeah.
Maybe.
I believe he's gotten to know Mrs. DeFosco's. My second grade teacher.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um,
And I know we were in Carline today and there was, I want to say a third grade teacher from Costa Rica, male teacher that was speaking Spanish to us. And he said he was speaking with Dylan as well. So we're just trying to, you know, figure things out.
For sure.
He's in the car line.
It's different, like the school system in Dominican Republic, and I came when I was 5 and he's 5. So, you know, I keep telling her, like, there's certain words that you just can't translate. Like, this is your future. Your son is gonna be like me trying to Google how to say hibernation. So she's, you know, just super nervous about him walking like down a hall, because this is a lot bigger than what we're used to.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more indoor time than outdoor time. So he's, you know, like a kid that's looking for outdoor stuff.
Sure.
We're just, it's too cold.
Yeah.
You can't do that in the winter. So, but he's like, yeah, I feel the cold, I'm fine. Can we go and like find some chickens to feed? So.
Oh,
Yeah.
More than I'll get.
Oh,
I know.
Yeah, we've been to La Villa, I think like that wants to work. It's good. It's been a good transition. I mean, it's been super, super helpful. Yeah, and I've just been working as a translator for my sister-in-law.
How wonderful that he'll be able to share his culture too. with
Yeah.
Everybody is, because it's such a different, like you're talking about, like just going and feeding the chickens. I'm like, I can't imagine my children ever saying something like that. But I wish I could. Do you know what I like?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
wish I
yeah.
could give them those kinds of experiences.
I mean, it's super, you know, interesting to see. Like I said, I have a senior at Strathaven
Mhm.
and she's been tutoring him, you know, giving him English lessons and, you know, he's helping her with her Spanish and, you know, they're kind of learning from each other. But it's, I can totally, even when I came, when I was 5 years old, it's a totally different way of doing things. Like he's super advanced and a lot smarter than, you know, but I think it's just generational too. Like I definitely don't remember knowing how to like turn on the computer and everything's in English, but he can still navigate it, you know? But yeah, one of the things that had us laughing today is, for Dominicans, everyone's a cousin. So you say, oh, my cousin this and my cousin that. So now when he comes home from school, I said, you know, I want you to learn names because the names are totally different here that he's not accustomed to. And he'll just call everyone his cousin. Oh, my cousin, you know, lend me a pencil. And he's like, look, it's not your cousin. And I don't know how these kids are gonna feel like, hey, wait a minute, we're cousins? Like, it's a different connotation.
No, it's still go.
This is true. So it's, yeah, it's super cute to see him, you know, he's super outgoing. It's just now he's trying to figure out like the first day, he was like, all right. So by the end of the day, I'm gonna be speaking English.
Whose class is it?
Pine?
Well, you can let them know that I live in a bilingual household and I mean, like, I can't, it's embarrassing. Like, my husband and my mother-in-law will talk in front of me and I'm like, I know what you're saying, and I'll try to add things in. I get like upset.
Good effort. Good effort. Yeah, we try to keep Spanish at home because I remember like even just growing up, Spanish was home and English was outside the home. But it's funny where he'll say, you know, thank you. That was English, right? Like, that was English, like you're getting it. And it's, you know, it's little words here and there, but I also don't want him to lose the Spanish because then, you know, he won't be able to communicate with abuela, which is not going down. My mom is like, you know, no, we need to speak Spanish.
I wish we were like an emerging school where it was, or just that there was the local opportunity to have an emerging school where we would like, where you'd have kids learning Spanish along, learning in Spanish alongside of it. Switch, but, I've heard of these. Whatever. Well, let's talk about this.
We can speak for all of us. If there's anything, we know
Yeah.
where it is, how to get there, what to do. So please feel free to
And
reach
just
out.
send an email in Spanish, we'll show it to Nona and.
Yeah.
And she can learn and she can tell us what it says.
Yeah.
There's just, I want to know that the work on like anything that he's translating or whatever, that like, she doesn't have to feel like she can't reach out to us in her
Yeah.
language.
Yeah, well, that's how to figure it out.
No, and it was awesome, like, Ms. Klein had, sheets for Dylan, and they were in Spanish, and she was like, wait a minute, I thought they were learning English. I'm like, no, it's to help you also, you know. Just be, yeah, yeah.
Well,
So we're excited.
I'm so glad you
Yeah.
came. Thank you. And I know that you have.
Yes,
a third grader.
Yes, my name's Leah. I have a third grader, Luke, second grader, Calvin, and kindergartner, Audrey, who sits with Dylan.
Oh,
Very excited about my friend. Friend, yeah.
Perfect, okay. So yeah, during the, if there's anything,
Michelle, you have that third.
oh. Okay. Yes, I'm sorry. She used to be on the board, so she kind of forget that she's not on the board. All right, so I'm gonna move it to Steph for some committee reports for election. So I'll just wrap up and turkey talk.
So election day bake sale, the final total came to 1378 from an election day bake sale. Very good. I think we budgeted 800 for that, so we definitely exceeded the expectation. Delco Turkey Trot on Thanksgiving morning was total registered 1,277 runners. We are still having a couple of expenses that we have to write checks for, but it is looking to be about a $30,000 income for us. So we'll be able to really do a lot of the additional gives that PTO would like to do. Like last year, we were able to give the playground equipment or the extra playground recess equipment. We were able to give rugs to the teachers. We were able to buy bike racks and then one other thing, and books for the libraries. We did
Yes.
a bunch of books for the library because she missed out on book fairs.
And all the clothes for the nurses.
And the nurses stipend. So-
Well, that is now in
Nurse
the regular,
hours.
yeah, that's now in our regular budget, but this way we can do some extra above and beyond things for our teachers and our community, and it was a success, and Kelly and I are very thankful for everyone's help and everyone's support, and we are happy to support and pass on to Leah and you guys for next year. I did forget to mention you guys did also. But we're only looking for more success going forward. That's great.
All right, Camp Fair, Mike, who is the other chair, alongside myself, cannot be here tonight. So he is, one of the leads on the Camp Fair. Every year we have, camps come and set up in the gym, and they have information about, the camp itself, and you have a lot of different opportunities to come and look at that. So that will be on February 4th from 12 to 3 in the gym. We will need volunteers for the day of, so just watch out for a sign up genius after the new year. Invitations did go out, so let us know if there are any that you'd like to make sure are on the list. He has yeses from 11 and we'll take up to 40.
And just to be clear, this is for summer camps. So
Yes.
they come in February and a lot of them, actually, last year, I think Creative Living Room usually opened the registration at the camp fair for registrations for the summer.
Yeah.
So, because summer camps do fill up fast for those who are new to our area.
And it's everything from 2-week camps to the township camp that held here at our school. So there's lots of different.
Half day, full day, all the.
Yeah.
different stuff.
How come you're having it 40?
It's just Mike's notes.
It went up to 53 in the past.
Well, we
can
can
talk-
address that.
We can talk to Mike.
I'm just reading Mike's notes.
Achieve,
Um,
achieve.
So that's what we have on that right now. Girls on the Run is, for those who don't know, it's a group, it's open to girls grades 3 through 5. And it is an after school program held twice a week. It is half curriculum, self-esteem building, exploration, and half physical activity. So they run, walk, and then at the end of the 10-week program, they get to run in a big 5K at the Subaru Park, the soccer stadium in Chester. So, and it's Delaware County, Montgomery County, Chester County, all the girls come together. There is registration technically closed on Monday, but it's a soft close, so we're gonna keep it open for another week. As of today, we have 16 girls. But we do have additional coaches, so the idea is if we go above 16, it technically goes to a lottery system. But if we have enough coaches, we can just split it into 2 teams and we're able to have all the girls. So that's obviously our goal. We don't want anyone to have to be excluded from that. And that starts in February. So if anyone is interested in being an additional coach or helping out, your child does get a discount for that. And that's why they did a great job on MLK Day. Don't think I'll be adding anything to that at this time. The other piece is 5th grade, which you did touch on.
So, yes, at least for the field trip, hoping, but before we leave for break, the 5th grade team and I were talking about potential date for the Washington DC trip. Looks like we'll be in May. We're trying to coordinate Mayfair, field day, and a 5th grade trip to DC.
So is there like a 5th grade committee?
So there is, and
I thought I was on it, but I don't.
so you are. There was just a little bit of miscommunication, but Nancy is taking the charge on it. And she is very interested in connecting. So those puzzle pieces are down and put into play. And I know that they're gonna meet.
Yeah, we should do that soon.
And then she's gonna reach out. Yep. So that I saw an email that was that from that saying, yes, I wanna meet with these people and let me know.
So do we think like January? Is that what we're thinking?
I wouldn't know. I mean, she's gonna have to make a whole decision, but
I would think so, but I'm
Okay.
not, that's,
Yeah.
that's gonna
That's
be hard to reach out. But
but the first piece for us will be the DC trip.
Right.
There are some,
Yeah.
there's some money associated with that, so that will be the first thing that, from the school's perspective. We will iron out what that looks like. And then I think the committee would have to, from my perspective. Look at which events have we had in the past, which do we want to do we want to add or potentially change, and I'm not saying we should change, I'm just saying. I would imagine that's what the next step is. I would imagine it's January, but I don't want to speak for someone
Yeah,
else.
I feel like that's when Stephanie started last year.
That's about right, yeah.
I know that she's gonna be connected with the list again of you all. This week, so I don't see why it wouldn't be first week, and, you know. Yeah, get that ball rolling. There was a discussion about playground equipment, there's discussion about potentially creating a playground committee. This is something that we want to continue to have a discussion around. If purchasing playground equipment is gonna involve fundraising and potential grants and, you know, things like that. As we spoke last time, it may very well be a multi-year project. So that being said, we as a board discussed it and said, well, we're not all going to be on this board forever. And so we would love to have something in place that says, here's a committee comprised of potentially community members, parents, staff, people that have experience doing these things, fundraising, grant writing. And then be able to sort of carry the torch and then come to the PTO and say, okay, can we get this commitment from you? But if we do the work necessarily on the committee and then we're gone, then things will fall through the cracks, we're afraid. So we would like to get something out and say, hey, who would be interested in being on the committee? Kind of go from there.
I imagine it would be like a 2 to 3 year, because the first year would be planning and figuring out what we're going to be doing, how we're gonna be doing it, things like that. And the second year is implementing it and actually going through the grant writing process and getting all that money. And then the third year is actually, installation and trying to order the equipment or fundraise the rest of the way or fundraise a full amount, things like that. So I would say, for somebody coming on, I would say like a 2 to 3.5 year commitment for a committee like that. That's my assumption at least. So I wouldn't want to go on a committee and think, oh my gosh, it's multi-year. I'm going to be committed for 5 years to this project. So that would make me literally grab the table. So,
I think there's flexibility in there. If you're
Yeah.
like, well, my kid's only gonna be in school for
Right.
6 months.
for
So
sure.
you can give 6 months worth of work and move on.
Absolutely,
yeah.
but also knowing that it could be, having some kindergarten parents or first grade
That would
parents,
be
so
ideal.
that they can see
Yeah.
it through to the end would be.
Yeah.
And even to your point, I think,
I see.
to your point, Jess, I think you mentioned like, at the same time that we have an investment as community members in general.
For sure.
So while I have a child who's not even here yet, I'm gonna be around for a while, Jess, maybe not so, yeah, you do.
I have two.
Not so much.
I'm gonna be here forever.
It's still like, we love this school, we love this community, and so many people in the community use the playground who don't even go
Yes.
here.
Right.
So to have other people have a representative involved, maybe Leanne Kruger, she's been instrumental in getting other playgrounds in place, like the one at Heifer Park. So just, we need like a brainstorming committee. But we don't think it should be run by the PTO.
I mean, I can start putting feelers out via social media and the e-blast to say, we need people to start, like, let us know when you're, and then set up a meeting.
You're
And then,
very good at communication. Beth.
and then just light the match and walk away. Like,
And it's me third.
Okay, so yeah, that would be a great step.
Truly to do that.
I did bring, that's kind of what mainly is on the agenda. We want to see if there's anything else out in the community that we need to hear. I did bring a piece of feedback from a community member. They asked, not necessarily for this year, but maybe for next year going forward, would we be interested in having a different weeknight to host a PTO meeting per month? Or even maybe 3 that we rotate, because for that community member in particular, Wednesdays are very, very difficult, but she's really invested and wants to be here. And so that's just something we need to consider, like equitable across the board. Are we meeting the needs of the families in the community? So one night is it a Tuesday, is it a Wednesday, is it a Thursday, or rotate that. I know that can get confusing in terms of communication, but I think
We could do quarterly too.
Yeah.
Like Tuesdays for a quarter, Wednesdays for a quarter, Thursdays for a quarter.
yeah, or even rotate the month so that you feel like you're staying either way. But that was just some feedback to take into consideration.
What do you think about that?
I'm fine.
I think
I like it.
I'm like, I could do other things.
I know.
The only issue that I would run into is board meetings, but we would just plan around them. But that's the only thing I would have to think about. Although I am involved with but bottom line, yes, I think we should do that. We have to move it. Later, we can do so as needed, but yeah, I would be able to do that.
Yeah, and as I said, I don't know if that's something after the new year, like if we want to change dates, I think we do.
Well, I mean, I'm involved in another volunteer organization that I haven't been to in 2 years because of
Yeah.
PTO meetings, yeah.
No, yeah.
I like the second week, though. I do like the second week.
Yeah.
The way the calendar falls, the second week is almost always better.
Yeah, this is more of like we all have different job commitments, activities, things like that. So, I mean, that's something I guess we only have January, February, March, April, May, 5 meetings. So. It's 5 days. No, But, okay. That would be a special one. I don't know, I mean,
I think as an EC board, we can discuss this too, in January as an EC board, and then maybe if we have new dates, we can like vote to change it at January.
I mean, the only thing that stinks is that we did plan out the whole year.
We did.
And last year we were just like flying by the seat of our pants to get the dates on the calendar, so that's my only. But it doesn't matter, we survived flying by the seat of our
Yeah.
pants.
Yeah,
So I think EC, we should discuss this
Yeah.
at our next EC meeting in January, and then if we do want to change it, do we need to vote for that, or can we just change it?
We can just change it.
Okay, then we'll give the new dates at the January meeting, which is already set.
And for whatever reason, if that doesn't work, then Sarah and Caitlin can always implement that, going forward for next year. I mean, that's all I know. Does anyone else have any questions or concerns?
Most of my questions were answered, actually, but I do have somewhat of a celebration. So the word on the street is that NPE PSSA scores are actually one of the highest in the district, like higher than SR. Not that I want to. That's what I'm hearing.
That's not correct.
Oh, well,
However, if you would indulge me for a couple of minutes, I'll try to be less than 2 minutes, because I could talk for 30 minutes about this.
That assessment? There.
So, and it's not about necessarily comparative, but recently, the PSSA results came in a large data file over the summer. I'm a data person, I really get in there, and I went through student by student grades 3 through 5. And historically, prior to 2015, NPE had not had a cohort that was like highest in the district, and we had a cohort that was 4th in the county. And our growth has always, apart from 18-19, really been very high. The state measures achievement and they measure growth. They measure growth. I don't understand it, but I will tell you, it seems to be somewhat accurate. They look at students in 3rd grade, a student scores X level. They run a mathematical formula 1,000,000 times, and they come out with a projection on how students should do in 4th grade based on whatever this is, whatever factors, and how they should do in 5th grade. If you score really high, there still is an expected growth. Let me be very clear about that, because sometimes it's like, well, if you're already high, there's no room for growth. That's not accurate. The state measures achievement and they measure growth. So they also take 40%, here we go, 40% of the achievement and give you a number. They take 40% of your quantitative growth, give you a number, and then 20% is your attendance. And they give you a number, a report card number. Our achievement scores in math, specifically is the one that's popping in my head. We were 72% proficient in grades 3 through 5. Off the top of my head, I don't know the exact numbers for the other schools, but Wes and SRS were both in, I'd say, high 70s maybe. Literacy, I think we were 79 versus, let's say, 86, 87, ballpark. So achievement, no, they were not. Where, getting back to these 3 numbers, our number based on the growth scores and achievement was 86.6. It's real, that's very high. If you look at the state, there's 10 schools maybe higher in the entire state. Maybe a few more, but not many. Believe me, I went through. Wes was 87.1. We were 86.6. Considering where our achievement was, our growth was off the charts. SRS was 84.1. So you can I see where I'm going?
Yeah.
Having said that, when I went through student by student, grade 3 through 5, because I knew we were doing some new things last year. We brought the MAP scores, MAP testing. You may remember last September, I said, from my vantage point, it's a game changer for our teachers and what we try to do with it. Being a former teacher and having used it. So the teachers spent a lot of time, early on looking at the data and saying, okay, instead of just rolling out math curriculum, we're gonna do as much as we can during the intervention block to, all right, this looks a little low. Even our highest students, what area they lower in? So we tried to put small groups together during intervention block of students that maybe weren't pulled out. So we did all this work first year. When I went through individual students last summer, I knew the growth was going to be off the charts, and it literally is. We get these like scales, and like dark blue is like you're exceeding. We were dark blue, and then there was like a little bubble, and it says your growth actually can't be measured on this chart. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not exaggerating in math specifically. But in the summer, I saw students. We had a student, ELL student, came to us not speaking English in first grade. And that's many students, so I'm not giving away any individual identity. We had students go from basic to advanced in math. We had so many students, even if they weren't proficient, they went from below basic to basic, which, you know, still not proficient, but that is not easy to do. Our learning support students in upper grades, their growth was the highest. It was, if the standard error was 3.4, that our learning support students in grade 5, it was 9.9. I mean, I just absolutely thrilled. I really have not had a chance to meet individually with teachers. I very, very loosely gave an overview at our last staff meeting last week. Because the teachers don't live in the PBOS, they call it PBOS, which is growth. So the rumor is somewhat true. Our scores, our growth scores, literacy, we can still do a little bit better. And we're doing the strategic planning, I think is going to help with that. But specifically in math, our growth was very high. And actually it has been. Last year, if you remember, or the hybrid year, we did take the PSSA, but only the 5th grade counted towards growth. So it's now 2 consecutive years of what I call the dark blue growth. Dark blue is you're far above the standard measure. Light blue is moderate evidence. Green, you're making expected growth. So we're not even at expected, we're not even at the level above. It's been dark blue and across subgroups.
So would you say the difference is targeted intervention based on the weaknesses identified in the math test?
I would say I have 1 year sample size, so I will, you know, hope to have 2 or 3 more sample sizes before I make a broad sweeping statement. However, it has been my experience as a classroom teacher and administrator that having that data certainly guides, and not just targeted groups, just your daily instruction.
Sure.
And
Well, I mean,
kudos to the
individual,
Just knowing, like, okay,
individual.
absolutely, absolutely.
And not the
Kudos
test
to
or
those
teacher.
teachers.
It's really good. I mean, that's great. It's really.
No,
Yeah,
Great.
and our growth is always, and we had 1 year where it just wasn't there. But
That's not
no,
everything. They're not, but
no,
Okay, I'll take it.
there's certainly not, and I know that the comparison is sometimes difficult not to make in such a small district. But I can say that the administration absolutely saw what our kids, you know, did, or what this building has done the last few years, and until it reached out to me, and
we're shaking
I'm
things
looking
up.
over there. So,
They're rumbling.
I know, I mean, one of the things I do.
but it's the building number that's probably coming from, because they think it's achievement.
Okay.
Ours was not. It was, now we had a couple great, again, I gave you 3 to 5.
Yeah.
Individual grades, yeah, there's a couple that are like marginally different. But the 86.6 was, that was great. Yeah.
So MPE has one falling person.
I know last year, in the summer, a lot of parents, you know, because we're on PTO, we hear a lot, right? Like a lot, good and bad. And I had heard, you know, at the pool, a lot of people saying like, the teachers did such a great job identifying like weak areas in my kids this year that now they're reading at this level, and I could have never expected them to do that. And all of these great accomplishments from the teacher, and you know, it's things that we hear in the summer and then I forget to like say, because a whole summer has gone by and I don't even know what I ate dinner last week, like, you know. But like bringing this up, it's like, oh, I remember having these conversations of even parents saying the teachers are doing such a great job identifying where my kid needs help and making sure that they get the extra supplements. And I don't know if it's the testing, I don't know if it's the amazing teachers, I don't know if it's a combination of both.
In
But
the testing world, like the big gap they talk about is like everyone can give a test, but it's
Yeah.
then what do you do with the data?
exactly.
So, and it sounds like
So-
you guys are doing a tremendous job.
So kudos to all of our
Yes.
teachers and
And
Please
I
pass
think
that on.
too, Al brought the CE blocks to NPE that
Mhm.
we never had
Huge.
before,
Yes.
and that alone is a game changer, because that's, no new instruction is taught, and that's targeting
Yeah.
those skills in small group instruction, you know, just to get those students, you know. where they
Breaking out
need
to
to
reading
be,
club,
so-
or to math club, or.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean,
Wherever.
the very fact that, I mean, I feel like one of the reasons that we're so lucky in school, being at a Title I school, is that having that math club, having the Title I math club, where, you know, my daughter ended up being identified as having a math learning disability when she was older, but when she was younger, she did not qualify for any special education services. And she got support all throughout elementary school. It's good. Anyway, I love it. You guys can do that.
So I wasn't as
well, I
brief.
don't know.
I'm sorry, I wasn't as brief. I just, now you're getting a little glimpse of what goes on when we're all together here.
Also, please take some treats.
Yes, yes.
That Mrs. Bender
Yes,
brought
there's
back.
baggies there. So
That's
take
okay.
free for the kids.
It's,
Lots of brownies.
Can I do that?
Yeah.
Second time.
All in favor?
Thank you, everyone. Merry Christmas, happy holidays.
thank you guys.
Oh, that's good.
I don't think.
Yeah.
I feel like that's not.
An area